Hi, I love you, and I'm glad that I want to explain something to you that I just found out um, just a little while ago, that there was a fifth plane during 911, and I was in security. I'm trained on 41 sites in the island between 2000 and 2002. I got a job to leave my neighborhood because it was so rowdy. They were dealing drugs and all kinds of stuff, and so I couldn't get any sleep. I do have problems sleeping, and I do think I've shared that in one of my videos, but the reason why I feel like I need to talk about this is because I was in a situation where I had been making a red, white, and blue chalice out of beads, 3 different designs. And I have one design right here that I can show you that was actually used in a restaurant when one of their parts of the decorations, this is what they look like. There's different ones that are tall, and I have one that's also so anyway, while I was working, I would be shuffled around from one place to the other because I could learn a job in 30 minutes versus 2 hours or 2 days. We had a lockdown. Everyone could not fly, and one of the hotels was turned into an itinerary for United. I had also been placed in an area outside of United by extra fuel tanks where they take the food in and out. And I was singing the song, God Bless the USA. I think that's the name of the song. God bless the USA. Anyway, I was by Nimitz while this was going on. Okay, so I thought, wow, these fuel tanks are here, and I'm here, and I'm with a bunch of Polynesian people that, not Hawaiians by the way, that really run the business, and it was really hard to get a job being Caucasian. One of my family members was in dispatch, and that's the only way you can get a job over here, is if you know somebody when you want one. But what I wanted to tell you was, when I was in this hotel, we'd have to check everybody's IDs, and I'm standing there, and there's a case of flowers, like the pilots would pick something out for their wife, and I'm standing next to him in my uniform, and I said, how did this affect you? And he said, our families were friends of the first pilot of United for 35 years. Birthdays flashed through my mind, graduations, marriages, new babies, all at once. And I'll tell you why that happened and how I ended up with that type of a gift. I just put my hand on his shoulder and tapped his shoulder, almost like a hug, but not a hug. And we didn't say anything more. I was also in an area that looked like, I mean, some of the things were just incredible, what I went through. That was 25 years ago, so I was 25 years younger, and I had a station wagon, and I'd take an extra uniform, and I would sleep somewhere where it was dark. It didn't matter if it was a graveyard or behind punch, somewhere. The old Poly Road, so that I could get some sleep. I think the only thing I battled was mosquitoes. And I don't know that I got a lot of sleep because we were working back-to-back shifts. We had to protect the water systems. So we have towers up above us that the water's pumped up into them, and then it flows down to our homesteads. It is like that all over the island. And so we just bounced from one place to the other and did our jobs the best we could. But one thing I did know at another hotel, I'm in the lobby and there's no way for the elevators to be secured. So they called us in as a second security for this elevator area. This man, I'm in the lobby. The night auditor has disappeared. I don't understand where he is. Some man walks in and says, "You have some streetwalkers out there." And I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "New York." And I says, "I think you have a lot more there than we do here." And then somebody knocked over, I don't know, a stand that they used to have papers on it and stuff. They don't have them anymore on the streets. But he left, and that was probably around 11. The night, between 10 and 11 or so. Night auditor disappeared. I did my rounds. I checked and the man came back at about 3 in the morning, and he said, "My apartment's gone. My animals are gone. My friends are gone. And me, I don't react to things like other people do. I may react 3 hours later. I let the Lord guide me. It's my nature." And I said, "Thank God you have another chance." And I went and hid behind the flowers, the decorations they had in the lobby, because, I don't know how to handle this. I've never been in a situation where, and I never, for I don't know how many years, even had time. I tried to reach my daughter. I was in a dental parking lot after one of my shifts when the dentist came out. The dentist came out and said, "Kathy, we're closed. The Twin Towers were destroyed," or something of that. Were hit. And I remember walking through the beach park between St. John's, and I ran into somebody that had been trying to look for their family member. And my daughter was in the military, and she's part of a MASH unit, and it took me 10 days to get a hold of her. And then in between that time, I had heard that they were sending the National Guard up to the Pentagon, because I thought that might be something that they would do. And so I felt more relaxed about it. Well, when I was called to work in Waikiki, there was one hotel that had 2 gold cars on a 4th level of the parking lot in one corner. I mean, gold. You're talking gold cars, not simple gold painted. And then down on the 2nd level, in another part of the parking lot, which would make it this way, and at the 4th level, it went up 29 more floors. And I reported it. I said, "This is very unusual." I had strange, I don't know, people that came. It was really odd. In the morning, I did find out that most of the people that were involved everywhere, the New York Stock Exchange, everything, they lost their portfolios. They lost everything. And the night auditor went next door and decided to drink, and I never seen them because they don't need daytime shift. They just needed somebody at that time when there's less people in the hotels. Another one of the stories that I would like to share with you, and if any of you know anybody in New York that's ever been to the memorials there, I made the red, white, and blue chalices, and I started helping with the Rehab Hospital of the Pacific. It was called the Louis Vuitton Creative Arts Program, and I was a volunteer artist, and I had an interview with the man who was running, the CEO, and he told me that I don't even know why he told me. I can't remember. It's probably in my journals. But he told me that his daughter had been chosen to be the head chef on the top of the tower, a very, very important restaurant, 2 months before this happened and that she died. And I don't know how I reacted. I don't remember, except that I was happy that he was pleased to bring me aboard to volunteer in that capacity as an art volunteer artist. And I remember the next day, or whenever I first started, because they're only on certain days of the week, I think like Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays, or something like that. Anyway, I had finished, well, you know, I had other jobs, but I had finished the red, white, and blue chalices. I don't even think I was working after 2002. Anyway, I gave him these chalices, and I says, I know that this is a great loss, but maybe somehow this is for you. I'm for your daughter, since you have nothing else left of her. And I'm wondering if he put them in the museum in New York. I'm just curious. I'm not going there. We were on our way to Italy, and we drove over the bridge into New York. We were shipping our car in Bayonne, New Jersey. I told him I don't want to go there. And I says, we'll get lost. And if you don't have mountains or oceans, and you know north, south, west, east, you can get super lost, even when you're inside of a building. Well, they did a skin cancer biopsy on me, by the way, and took one off my hand right there. I told him, get this off me. I think it's right there. Anyway, I've had it for over 40 some odd years, and used to go in every 3 to 6 months, but I haven't been anywhere about that, and that's another story. This, if you were wondering what the little red thing is, I don't dye my forehead with a red color. But I do know that in a 1994 wreck, my ability to have a photographic memory, I would have to pull something out of my brain to give you exact details of what happened, but I could. I know that this seems like a very strange video, but I know I have to share it. I don't have anybody to talk to all day long, and he's strange, so you know, I just try to do my best to what would you call it? Go along for the ride. I don't know if that makes any sense either. When we get to be this age, we say some very funny things. And my tooth cracked up here, this crown. I've had a strange dentist. I don't want to talk about her. I'm going to take my medicines and go to sleep. And if you ever want to know why, that happened when I was born. And in 1994, I figured out a lot of things when somebody ran me off the road into a telephone pole. And I always wondered, how could anybody do that? You know, there's so much room. You missed the first one. And then I slid on the sand on the railroad tracks. Out here, yeah, there was a railroad that went all the way around this island. You would think if they cared about our side of the island, they would have made a hookup to that. They're going to make a gondola that goes from Haleiwa and come right over top of Mount Kaala. So you guys, if they decide to burn us out, you'll know what happened to me, okay? There's been some kind of weird mist has been put on my our buildings every morning. One morning I videoed it and I'll upload it. It went away when I was videoing it. So this is not normal. We've never had these myths before, and I have a feeling that's why they don't want any old people around, is because we know how things really were. Maybe that's why people look at us strange, other than just the SARS CO2 that they never could make a jab for in 8 years for SARS. So I did a lot of studying, worked with, online YouTube epidemiologists and things. I don't even want to go there. I might get into trouble. Sometimes when you get in trouble on YouTube, they make you read all these things about it. That you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to talk about that. So, I don't know if I should have even added it here or not. But I just found out there was a fifth plane 23 United. I was watching on it. I don't know if I can even add it as a post. I found out the last few posts because I had put down, by the way, I put down not made for children so you folks can comment, okay? So go ahead and share this. Maybe it'll reach somebody in New York and they'll leave me a comment and let me know. Boy, wouldn't that be fun? No, I could never go by myself. The trip from Nevada to here is 5 hours. I can get into trouble on planes, especially if they seat me by the bathroom. So I mostly get to sit by the door that we will kick open if anybody needs to escape. I once did empty a plane. If you want to hear that story, let me know. I love you. Jesus loves you. Heavenly Father loves you. And to all you sweethearts out there that leave me a comment, it means a lot to me because I live for Sundays, because they appreciate me leading the music. They give me hugs. They say nice things to me, and the only one I have to talk to are my chickens. I love you.